Step 1. You have to climb Mount Chiliad, which is the highest mountain in the game, where you will find the Mount Chiliad mural, and you will also find out that right now you can't do anything with it until you completed the story. Come back when your story is complete, which is written on top of Mount Chiliad. Step 2. Once you completed the game at 100%, achieving each gold medal, you will go back to Mount Chiliad, where you will have to search for those 5 X's, which are positions around the mountain itself, which will give you away 5 glyphs or symbols, of which the symbolic meaning will tell you what to do next. Step 3. After you completed the game at 100% and found those 5 glyphs and translated their symbolic meaning, you understand that you have to stay on top of Mount Chiliad at 3 o'clock in the night while it rains. And then you will encounter this UFO, which is marked with an FIB logo. This UFO just shows up as an illusion, as you can shoot through it, and if you approach it, it will disappear, so you can see it only from the right angle. This way we have solved the left side of the mural, as well as those 5 X's, as they all point to how to see this Easter egg or this side of the mural. Step 4. After finding the UFO on top of Mount Chiliad, which is just an illusion and is FIB marked, you will find the same UFO just in a solid form at the hippie camp, which implies that both places are connected. This is further backed up by the fact that the hippie camp is the only place that also features the glyphs that are featured on Mount Chiliad, by which you will find the first UFO with the FIB marking. Understanding that this place, the hippie camp, features the same FIB marked UFO Easter egg as well as the glyphs should make you think about this place being a representation, a smaller representation of Mount Chiliad. At least they both are closely connected. Step 4. Once you understood the connection between both places, Mount Chiliad and the hippie camp, you will also understand that you have to do the same process as you did on Mount Chiliad at the hippie camp to get an Easter egg. And what I mean by that is that you have to translate the given symbols around the place in order to get an instruction on what to do to see an Easter egg, just like we got the 5 glyphs around Mount Chiliad, which led us to seeing the UFO Easter egg. Step 5. Once you translated all those symbols, you will get an instruction on looking at the whole place from above and then to mirror it at a given place, which is this huge arrow or the middle way. And if you mirror this whole place from above, you will get this Easter egg, an alien face made of the whole place, just as the symbols there implied. An earth looking from above at it and alien faces, you know? It's pretty simple. Which was basically just as simple as finding the UFO illusion on top of Mount Chiliad. By gathering symbolic meanings around the place, translating those symbolic meanings into an instruction, following this instruction and getting an Easter egg. Now that you know the connection between the Mount Chiliad and this place, the hippie camp, which is the FIB marked UFO Easter egg, as well as the glyphs which lead you to this Easter egg, you can assume that this place actually resembles a miniature version of Mount Chiliad. Now that you know that this place resembles Mount Chiliad and that this place also holds an Easter egg of this kind, or this kind of Easter egg being actually featured in the game, what holds you back from expecting Mount Chiliad to have the same kind of Easter egg, since this place resembles Mount Chiliad and had this kind of Easter egg? Step 5. After solving the left side of the mural, seeing the UFO and finding its counterpart at the hippie camp with the belonging Easter egg, we now have to search for the right side of the mural. So let's focus on another place where the Chiliad mural is referenced once again, and it is at the altruist camp, where you will find this sun symbol, this divided sun symbol, all over the place, being their main symbol, while it represents the divided eye from Mount Chiliad, so there is a close connection to both places, while the altruist camp is still on Mount Chiliad. Step 6. Now apply the same pattern that we used to find the other Easter eggs, which was following symbolism. Symbolism gives you away an instruction on how to see an Easter egg, which will be the jetpack dude from the mural, given by shadows as an illusion. Once again as an illusion, just as the UFO on top of Mount Chiliad was an illusion, just given by opposing things, you know, they are shown by two opposing ways, which will play a higher role, bigger role later. And no matter if you believe this to be the jetpack Easter egg or not, or if you believe that the jetpack is not in the game, that actually does not matter. Why? Because this is just the representation of the other side, you know, the opposing side of the mural. As both are connected, both show you illusions of an Easter egg, but both in an opposing way, as you see by the middle line and the opposing lightning bolts. And the divided eye will let you see two opposing sides, or two different sides of the same egg, you know? Another interesting clue given by the altruist camp is the cave underneath, which shows you this small cave with a campfire, this main divided sun symbol once again, some other sun symbols, and of course a ram skull. And this ram skull is very important to us, as you will see later. Step 7. Now that we found this Easter egg to be an illusion, and this Easter egg also to be an illusion, or not to be in the game, we also found the connection between both, which is opposing. No matter how you think it, both are just illusions, represented in an opposing way to each other. That would also explain the opposing lightning bolts on the mural, and the middle way, and the divided eye, which all points to two different sides. As Omega says, look at the other side. And by knowing that this place resembles Mount Chiliad and holds this type of Easter egg with the mirroring, where you literally take one side and also the other side, the opposing side, you can now imagine what we have to do to Mount Chiliad. If we now look back at the mural and know that we have to follow symbolic meanings in order to see Easter eggs, let's focus on the symbolic meaning given by the mural. And let's start with the eye which we find underneath the viewing point on top of Mount Chiliad, from where you also see the UFO, actually implies that you have to look at this place from above, from a bird's eye view, as it is drawn on the floor, so that you see it from a bird's eye view. We also know that we have to take one part of the map and mirror it, and take the opposite side and unite them to create something new, just like we did at the hippie camp, which resembles Mount Chiliad. We now have to know where this line has to be, where we have to mirror, and this line is actually also given by the eye on Mount Chiliad, as it is placed in a position that the line would go from the eye to the egg, would go straight through altruist camp. And this line is also pointed out by the trail Old Man's Crack, which points straight at the altruist camp. If you look from the side on where the arrow goes to, it is straight pointing at the altruist camp. And where do you see an old man's crack, an ass crack? At the altruist camp, since they are all old and naked. Now that we have the line and know what to do, look at the map from above, take it and its opposite, and even have this line where we have to mirror. Let's do this and let's look what we get. Now that we have the instruction on what to do, which is basically to look at the whole place from above, and also have this given point where we have to mirror the map or the game, let's do this. And I already cut out the map straight through the line going through Chiliad top and the altruist camp, as given by the middle line of the mural itself and the Old Man's Crack trail. The next logical thing would be to mirror this whole thing, or as I call it, create balance, as you take one side or the original side and its opposite and unite them into one new thing, or create a balance, you know? And it would create something like this, but you actually don't see anything. So let me show you the last step that you have to see, or that you have to do to see something. If you still can't manage to see anything, that's simply because you haven't translated all the symbolism around the game, which are not only given on Mount Chiliad, but basically all around the world of GTA 5. But as we mirrored through the altruist camp, you already got a hint on what to expect or what to see. We mirrored through this place where we got a cave with a fire and a ram skull. And if you raise the contrast of this thing, you will clearly see this ram skull face or ram head. Here I cut out everything that is not mountain, just to show you what to see. And if you still don't see it, I even drew it right here. You see, it is a clearly visible face, a ram face. And this is because of the symbolic meaning of a ram face, that you see a ram face, which you can Google. But basically, the way on how you find this Easter egg is the Easter egg itself, since the way you find it explains you the connection between all things. And just to prove my point that everything, really everything in this game is all about the union of opposites, or mirroring as you call it. Just let me show you what GTA 5 is about. And how do we do that? By simply looking at the symbolic meaning of the number 5, as in GTA 5 or the 5th part of the series. And the most important meaning of the number 5 is simply balance. You know, just like we used to solve this mystery, we used balance. Something and its opposite equally, you know, balanced. And if you still don't believe me that the whole game is all about balance, let me quote something from the game.
It's calm. I am calm, but I'm also angry. That is a duality. Same way I came in. Everything in the universe is about two. And that again is the duality. When one becomes two, problems can arise. I am very clear about this in my book.
So I guess you heard it too. Everything in the universe is all about two, or duality. And as he explains, duality is two opposites uniting. He's angry, but he's also calm. And that is a duality. And he also talks about when one thing becomes two, problems can arise. If one thing is represented by two different things, for example, this Easter egg is represented by a UFO illusion and a jetpack illusion, just to show you that you also have to see an illusion made of both opposites, then a problem can arise because you don't understand that one side can stand for nothing. One side actually represents just the opposite of what we already saw, and this is where the problem arises. And did you know that the symbolic meaning of a mountain is actually also balance? You know, as you have this connection between heaven and earth, but also self-improvement or self-growth, you know, spiritual growth, which you also achieve by balance. You know, that is why the mural is placed on top of a mountain. And just to prove you how this Easter egg explains you the rest of the mystery stuff, let me show you the last UFO, which you will find after completing the game, or which you unlock as a major clue, which is the Zancudo UFO. This UFO, which you will get as a separate clue for completing the game. And this UFO features also mirrored textures, which is totally uncommon for a game like GTA 5. Unlike every other game where you have mirror textures everywhere. But in this case they focus those mirror textures by even placing this writing on top of the UFO saying segregate and rearrange. And segregate and rearrange is just a term which is translated from Latin solve et coagula, and this term is actually used in alchemy, I hope I pronounce it right, to unite opposites. Once again, this very simple and clear focus on opposites uniting. But it is also a term used for spiritual growth, you know, as a mountaintop already symbolizes. Or balance also symbolizes. Another funny fact is that the same writing is featured on the arms of a creature called Baphomet, Solve et Coagula, or segregate and rearrange. And this horned beast is actually also what you see as an Easter egg in the end, you know. And this creature is the universal symbol for all dualities of the world. May it be animal and human, like given by the peyote plants, or the beast hunt, where it literally transformed from a human into a beast, or are a mix between both, or between Michael and Trevor, order and chaos, you know, or other things, you know. Every duality is represented by this thing or this thing. That's why you see it as an Easter egg. So this UFO basically gives us the same instructions as everything else in the game. To look at the world from above, as it is watching the whole world from above, with even a camera, eye camera underneath it, and focusing on two opposites, like segregate and rearrange, which are opposites by themselves, and the mirror textures on this UFO. If we now look back at the mural, we know what this is, the UFO Easter egg as an illusion. We know what this is, the jetpack illusion at the altruist camp. We know their connection between each other, which is this opposing conditions still showing one and the same thing, an illusion, you know, UFO illusion, jetpack illusion by opposing conditions. We know what the 5 axes are, which were the conditions for the UFO. We know what the middle line with the cracked egg is, since it is the cracked egg consists of both opposites uniting in the middle, you know. We know what the eye means, a divided eye, as you see something divided, or both sides, as you do with my Easter egg. We know what the lightning bolts mean, as they oppose each other, just to symbolize this opposing things uniting, you know. And we know what the symbolic meaning of a mountain is, which also focuses on this balance of opposites that unites heaven and earth by its symbolic meaning. So at this point I would simply claim the mystery to be solved, since there is simply nothing else to find, and we already got the whole explanation for the mural, each and every symbol covered up. And the whole point of this mystery is to give you a spiritual Easter egg, even though you have nothing to do with spiritual things. You just have to focus on this, you just have to use this third eye thing, you know, the spiritual way of thinking to solve this mystery. Even though you don't expect it to have an Easter egg as a reward, but it actually gives you an Easter egg which lets you understand the whole mystery. And that's it, that is the whole mystery, you know. Embrace the other side too, that is the message of this whole thing. Focus on both sides, you know, don't just look at one side. You can't know what love is without knowing what hate is. You can't know what life is without knowing what death is, you know. Or you can't look at one side without also looking at the other side. Now there are people who complain that this is not everything, that there is so much more to discover. Yes, there is. There are hidden meanings, and I'm going to cover those up too in my next videos probably, because there are still so many symbolism given in the game that you still haven't understood. But I will show you that by finding this one Easter egg, that you will understand all of them. And I will translate all of them and show you the connection between all of them and how they all point to one thing. And this is this balance, or the other side, or whatever, you know. So basically it will always point to this Easter egg, and I will prove that in my next videos. So make sure to follow.